The United Nations says removing oil from Safar tanker is progressing successfully. Houthi attacks on oil facilities deepen Yemen economic crisis. Houthis start the new school year amid hot summer. Good evening. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. I am Abir Ali and you're watching the English news. The United Nations said most of the oil on board the rusting tanker Safar has been moved to a replacement vessel in a bid to avert a catastrophic spill. The following report has more.
The United Nations has taken steps to prevent a catastrophic oil spill off of Yemen's coast. Due to unrest in the area, the supertanker FSO Safar, a modified oil storage vessel, has been abandoned since 2015. More than 1 million barrels of crude oil are stored in Safar, which is less than half miles off the coast of Yemen and could devastate the environment if leaked. Since 8 years ago, Safar tanker hasn't been maintained. In recent years, seawater has poured into its engine room, causing pipe damage and heightening the prospect of sinking. According to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the work is a critical next step in avoiding an environmental and humanitarian catastrophe. The waterways around the abandoned tanker are critical for ships traveling to the Mediterranean Sea. Many depart from the Persian Gulf and transit through Yemen before passing through Egypt's Suez Canal. For years, the United Nations and neighboring countries have warned that an explosion or an oil leak might impede Middle Eastern shipping. A large oil spill would be disastrous for Yemen's Red Sea ports, where the Safar is currently docked. A spill could shut down important ports in Al Hudaydah and Salif, cutting off 18 million Yemenis who require clean water and 16 million who need food assistance. More than half of the country's population is relying on humanitarian aid provided through ports. According to the United Nations, the cost of cleaning up a Safar leak might reach $20 billion. The transfer of oil from Safar to Yemen is projected to cost $129 million. Once the Safar has been cleared of any pumpable oil, a heavy layer of oil will remain on the bottom of the oil tanks. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, a mobile tank cleaning machine will remove the leftover oil. The United Nations had wanted to repair the Safar, but they now intend to prepare it for removal and eventual recycling.
Years and months of preparation for the salvage operation of the FSO Safar lie behind us. Many challenges, many hurdles. The pumps are on. The pipes have been laid between the FSO Safar and the Yemen, the replacement tanker. As we know, sadly, Yemen is still a country that finds itself in the midst of a conflict more than 8 years. But one threat that has been looming large over the people of Yemen, but also the Red Sea and all the countries in the region, is this 47-year-old rusting tanker. And as we speak, the operation is now underway. But let us also be clear, this is just another step in this highly complex operation that ultimately will lead to the emptying of the tanks, then the cleaning of the tanks, then the towing away and the sound and ecological and socially responsible scrapping of the FSO Safar. All of these are part of this Operation FSO Safar.
Houthi threat to attack oil ports has deepened Yemen economic crisis. According to observers, such a Houthi threat made the government unable to pay salaries to civil servants and compounded their living conditions. This report has more.
Yemen's government declared that Houthi rebel strikes on critical oil facilities had resulted in astounding losses of about $1.5 billion since late August, further weakening the already precarious economy of the nation. Yemen's acting permanent representative to the UN, Marwan Ali Noman, revealed that the revenue from oil ports and facilities, initially set aside for public sector salaries and enhancing public services, has been severely impacted. During a high-profile UN Security Council session on famine and food insecurity on Thursday, Nauman revealed that the prolonged civil conflict has already reduced Yemen's economy to running at only 50% of its potential, making the economic blows from Houthi strikes even more damaging. The consequent financial setback has not only hampered the government's capacity to respond effectively to the escalating food crisis, but has also exacerbated existing issues. In his address, Nauman urged the international community to ramp up assistance for war-torn Yemen. He emphasized the need for efforts that improve agricultural capacities, rural infrastructure, and long-term finance to ensure long-term food security. Furthermore, Nauman pleaded for aid donors to fully commit to paying Yemen's 2023 humanitarian response plan. This proposal is a lifeline, providing a chance to give crucial services and relief to a community on the verge of starvation. The Houthi movement in Yemen has carried out drone assaults against government-controlled oil terminals in the provinces of Hadramaut and Shabwa in recent months. These strikes halted crucial oil deliveries, which contributes heavily to the government's income. The Houthis have often said that they are targeting these ports to prevent the exploitation of Yemen's sovereign wealth. Yemen's civil war began in late 2014 when Houthi militants invaded multiple northern cities, forcing the Yemeni government to flee the capital Sana'a.
A fire destroyed a camp housing a number of African immigrants' families west of Marib, leaving huge material losses in the property. The executive unit for managing displaced camps in the governorate said that the fire broke out near a station in Al Wadi district due to a leak of cooking gas. The executive director of the displaced indicated that the fire destroyed the shelter of 10 African refugee families, all of them are Ethiopian. Massam project for demining said that mines and exploded ordnance kill or injure a Yemeni child every 2 days. The project added that in Yemen, a child dies or is injured due to landmines and exploded ordnance every 2 days on Twitter. This is why Project Massam has made its mission to clear Yemen of mines and other remnants of war. Dozens of Houthi militia members were killed in Adala governorate. Field military sources said that the Houthi militia tried to advance toward the positions of the joint forces, and as a result, clashes broke out between the two sides. Sources indicated that the Houthi militia attempt to advance towards the positions of the joint forces was under heavy fire coverage with medium and heavy weapons. The Houthi militia began to put iron dividers in classrooms at Sana'a University to separate male and female students. Students said that the Houthi militia began installing iron dividers that extended inside the classrooms of the Faculty of Medicine at Sana'a University. This comes within the framework of the Houthi measures through which they are trying to impose its sectarian ideas on all segments of society. Houthis started the new school year earlier than the regular annual schedule. This has aggravated the suffering of the students, especially those in the coastal city of Hodeidah, where temperatures exceeded 45 Celsius degrees. The following report has more.
Despite opposition and criticism from parents and children, the Houthi group has persisted in implementing the Hijri calendar to begin the school year in its regions of control for the past 2 years. Yemen previously relied on the Gregorian calendar to account for the unforgiving summer climate. However, the Houthi group has imposed the adoption of the Hijri calendar to determine the start and end of the academic year. According to the Gregorian system, the school year starts from late August to early September and concludes in May, thereby circumventing the summer. This setup takes into account the difficulty of studying in the season due to the heat. According to the Houthi Ministry of Education, students in areas under its control must return to school on Saturday, July 22nd, to begin the new academic year, whereas the legitimate government's Ministry of Education announced the start of the academic year in liberated areas on August 27th. Many parents and activists expressed frustration with the Houthi authorities' policy on social media, citing the significant spike in temperatures this year as global warming grows more pressing. Sana'a, Damar, and Amran, which are known in northern Yemen for having a moderate summer climate and whose residents confirmed that the summer's heat is unprecedented, were not spared from the noticeable rise in temperatures. In an attempt to quell outrage, the Houthi Ministry of Education in Sana'a issued a circular with a slight adjustment in school hours in the coastal and desert governorates of Al-Hudaydah, Hajjah, Al-Jawf, and Ma'rib, whose climates run especially hot. This step was met with ridicule by the Yemenis in Houthi-controlled areas, who have grown tired of the group's tampering with the educational sector, starting with cutting teachers' salaries and instilling secular ideas within the school curricula.
Coming up in the news. Houthis crackdown on movies and music CD stores continue in Sana'a.
أبي مات في شارع 40 دحين أنا أشقى على أسرتي مع باقي اللي أنا أصرف عليهم كل شيء. أنا اسمي أنس رصيد سيف، عمري 12 سنة. أنا أشتغل بورشة حديد من الساعة 7 للساعة 6. أحيانا أسرع، أحيانا أقص، أحيانا أرنق، أحيانا أنقش، أي حاجة أنا أعمل. لا الساعة لما تبدأ الساعة 6 أوقف. أنا وقفت الدراسة علشان ما فيش أحد يشقى على أسرتي، أدرس إخواني الباقي من دون 4 وأنا الخامس. أحلم إني أفتح ورشة أبي وأشقى على أسرتي وأندي لهم مصاري وأدرس إخوتي الآخر الجامعات وأطبخوا أي شيء.
Welcome back. Casualties of traffic accidents in all liberated governorates increased to 35 cases compared to last June, while the number of injuries increased to 163 people during the same month compared to the previous one, which amounted to 108 injuries. According to the General Administration of Traffic Police, the various roads of the liberated governorates witnessed 247 traffic accidents.
أنا صادق سعيد عبد علي، أستاذ الرسول 5 مع الأب والأم من أهالي منطقة البنيد، شمال غربية. فينا نشتغل شهر ورقد شهرين. كانت الطريق سابقا وعورة وصعوبة والطلوع متعب جدا.
لما كان معنا مريض كنا نتكلف الجهد والمال وما تجد سيارة وصعوبة جدا السيارات العادية تطلع هنا كانت.
وصلت الطريق باكتشافهم بالشراكة مع ائتلاف الإغاثة.
النشاط النقد مقابل العمل مشروع جيد يقدم خدمات إغاثية برضو لشريحة واسعة من المعدمين.
استفدنا من مقابل العمل أول ما صلحوا لنا طريقنا، ثانيا استفدنا يعني عندي مساعدة للبيوت حقنا، يعني حصلنا مساعدة من 90,000 3 مرات. بالفلوس هذه اشترينا الاحتياجات الأساسية تغذية اللي نحتاجها بالبيت. المشروع حلو جدا وإن شاء الله نستمر ونغلق الباقي.
شوفوا هذا المشروع هذا يعني يخفف المعاناة ويوفر الجهد والمال والعراق، مش للمنطقة هذه بس، هذه المنطقة ترتبط بالعشرات من القرى.
Like Taliban and other extremist groups, Houthis launch arrest campaigns against music CD stores, movies, and recreational places. According to the reports, such places promote the Western culture and distract the youth. This report has more details.
The Houthi militia closed 14 stores that sell DVDs of movies, music, and series in separate areas of Sana'a as part of the group's continued restriction of freedoms. Informed sources in Sana'a said that the Houthi group began its campaign a week ago, claiming it was implementing the directives of its leader against the soft war. The militia imposed strict restrictions on stores that sell music, series, and movies, encouraging them to sell Zawamil songs that promote the coup and the war they have been waging for 9 years against Yemenis. Store owners stressed that the militia closed many shops in an ongoing campaign to collect royalties and forced them to sell specific types of movies and songs. The Houthi campaign was met with widespread discontent among the population. Activists said the group's behavior reveals the truth about its hostility and hatred towards all types of arts. A store owner in Sana'a said that the group's members forced workers to pay royalties as a punishment of selling indecent songs and soap operas that promote subversion. A cafe owner in Sana'a reported that he was subjected to a severe warning by a Houthi leader while playing a song by a Yemeni artist. The cafe owner asserted that a Houthi leader immediately asked him to turn the radio off, vowing to break it and penalize him if he played songs again. He pointed out that the militia leader had given him recordings of Houthi chants that incite sectarianism, asking him to play them instead to motivate customers to engage in the fronts. The militia had previously imposed strict restrictions on freedoms and controlled the privacy of the population and their way of life and livelihood, as they recently decided to separate male and female students in the Faculty of Information at Sana'a University. They described the Houthi decision as ISIS-like, saying it went against the values of freedom and equality that Yemenis have struggled for decades.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. The United Nations says removing oil from Safar tanker is progressing successfully. Houthi attacks on oil facilities deepen Yemen economic crisis. Houthis start the new school year amid hot summer. This is the end of the news. It was Abir Ali and thank you for watching.